Today I'm transforming a 100-year-old painting into a quilt worthy of being on a museum wall. The colors are bold and unexpected. The design is unlike anything I've ever tried before. This might just be my most striking quilt yet. Let's see. While I was looking for inspiration, I stumbled across the most jaw-dropping jelly roll I've ever seen. It's a special edition inspired by Gustav Klimt's painting of the Kiss, or Der Kuss, painted around 1907-1908 and originally called Liebespaar, or the Lovers. You can definitely see the resemblance. Deep grays, metallic gold, bright yellows. It flows from white to black with every tone in between. I think there's something special about this painting, so I am bringing it to life again, this time in fabric and with a pattern I've never tried before. Let's take one strip from each pair, so we are using half our jelly roll. I have seen a couple of similar versions of the pattern I'm making today, but nothing quite like what I have in mind. All I can tell you is it is very simple to make, but once it's done, it's going to look like I went through a lot of trouble. My favorite kind. It's kind of a Bargello variant I've been meaning to try for a while now, and you know how perfect jelly rolls are for that. I am cutting my strips into 8-inch blocks. You know, I found this jelly roll when I was looking for pre-cuts. I had already picked out a few jelly rolls, added them to my cart, and there it was. I was so shocked. Never in a million years would I expect to fall so deeply in love with these kinds of colors. You know me, I am all about bold, bright, rainbow colors, and this one is none of that. But they were a challenge, and when you're quilting day in and day out like I am, to find something completely different from what you usually do, you welcome it with open arms. Now, next step. I struggled a little bit with this one. I don't usually like adding outside fabrics to my pre-cuts, but for me, the white on this jelly roll just isn't wide enough to make the big contrast we desperately need for the pattern I want to make. So I've decided to add some white fabric to this quilt. I am cutting 2.5-inch strips real quick, and then I am cutting them into 4.5-inch bricks. I'm a little nervous to try this pattern without testing it first. It is quite different from the ones I've seen, both in how it comes together and how it will look in the end. But I'm excited to see what this takes us. And now it's time to put some method into this pattern. First, we need to figure out our color configuration. Do we go from dark to light or light to dark, or do we want to mix them up? I think doing a value scale would hide our fabrics. You know, we would see color blobs instead of each one of the fabrics, and I don't want that. Plus, I am worried that the lighter fabrics are way too light when mixed with the white, so I'm mixing it all up. That way we get contrast and the fabrics will stand out perfectly on their own. And how pretty are these? The gray, yellow, gold combo is such a classic one, you know, for clothes, for decor, and now for quilting. Next step is sewing these pieces back together. We take all the bricks from one jelly roll strip and we sew it, mixed in with the white. So 5 color fabric and 5 white. Let's do it. This is what we get, and now that we've organized our colors, we want to close the strip into a loop just like we do for a Bargello. So we take the top and the bottom of the strip and we sew. Now, before anything else, I advise we add a number to each strip. That way, we know exactly what our sequence is, and in case something ends up falling to the floor or getting misplaced, it's really easy to get it back into place. This is particularly important if, like me, you share your sewing space with cats. Let's do this for all our 20 strips. I wish I could tell you the name of this quilt pattern, but I have no idea. You know, even the similar patterns I've seen online had different names. So once again, I am hoping you will be able to help me out and tell me what it's called, because I don't know. If the whole loop idea makes you nervous, you don't necessarily need to close the strip. You can leave it open and adapt it when we move on to our next step. For me personally, this removes the step of having to add and remove fabric, as you will soon see. So it saves me a lot of time and trouble. And now comes the fun, if not slightly unnerving part of making our zigzag. First strip, we want to start with the entire color fabric brick showing. So we open the seam between the two pieces like so. For the second strip, we move down 2 inches and we cut there. This is what we get. For the third strip, we move 2 further inches, so that makes it up for the entire white brick. Let's open it there. Fourth strip, we move into the color fabric and cut it 2 inches in, and 2 inches more for the fifth. Except now we go back. So the sixth strip will be the same as the fourth, the seventh the same as the third, the eighth the same as the second, and the ninth the same as the first. And here is where we start the whole thing all over again. The 10th is the same as the second, and so on. We keep doing this until we run out of strips and our pattern is complete. And all 20 strips are laid out in front of you, creating a lovely zigzag pattern. Now, for some of the other similar patterns I've seen, the white bricks are the same length as the color fabric ones, so you get a bigger gap between your zigzags. For other similar patterns, instead of using the exact same fabric for each strip, they mix it up and it's all mismatched. There are a lot of changes you can do to this pattern to make it your own. And I also find that using just one color fabric per strip gives it a neatness that I enjoy. And before we know it, we have our puzzle all laid out in front of us, looking absolutely gorgeous. Time to sew it all together. And the good thing about this is, unlike a Bargello quilt, you don't need to be too careful about where the strips fall. No need to nest those seams. Just assume that you've cut your pieces right, which I probably didn't, and you've sewed them nicely and everything will fall into place. Having said that, if you haven't done that, and I know I probably haven't, it's not a problem. This is a very forgiving pattern. It will look absolutely cool nonetheless. I am using 1/4 of an inch seam allowance throughout the entire project to make life easier for myself. Now, because I only used half a jelly roll, I will be done pretty quickly with this. All that's left for us to do now is to press this beauty and to trim it, of course. And here we have it, our century-old masterpiece turned into a stunning, one-of-a-kind quilt top. A simple pattern that makes these fabrics shine like they deserve. I had a blast, I hope you did too, and I will see you soon. Bye bye!